Hey guys, I got some video here on the Deutz Allis 1920. Back in the spring, I put up a video called Electrical Gremlins, where some kind of problem was happening and essentially the PTO was turning off in the middle of use as an electric PTO. And I thought the key switch was bad. So you're gonna see what I do here, but I bought a new key switch. So let's check it out, see if we can get it fixed. The video you're going to watch here is from July. It's now November. So that's 4 months old. I've been pretty busy this summer. I haven't had time to edit this stuff. And anyways, hope you enjoy.
All right, so I'm over here working on the Deutz Allis loader. I got an aftermarket key switch in the mail. I got it on Amazon or eBay, I forget. It's on both, same guy. But it's supposed to be a heavy duty weatherproof key switch. Let me show it to you. Here it is. Again, I got this right on online. It was $39.99, which I think is a lot of money for a key switch. I don't see where it's made. I'm sure it's a China switch. It probably says under this label here, but anyways, I opened it up and I checked it out, and it's, I don't know, it just looks like a cheap ignition switch to me. Nothing about it really looks like it's heavy duty to me as far as the switch itself goes. Let's see. Here's the switch. Oh, I will say this, it weighs more than the OEM switch. But, you know, still it doesn't have any markings on any of the prongs. They tell you it's waterproof, and they give you kind of like this plastic nut, which is weird. And they give you another part, if I could get it out of the box, that is kind of like a rubber thing. I guess this snaps over this nut here to seal the moisture out. It's a regular INDAC key, but they put this big stupid plastic thing on there. I guess maybe that helps keep a seal and the rain out. I'm not sure, but we're gonna try it. Now, this was the original switch, and this prong here in the middle is all corroded looking and shot. I tried cleaning it up, but this thing I think is a goner. And the other problem is that this middle prong in the top here is really rusty. So ideally what I want to do is take that prong out of this key switch and see if we can't maybe cut it off and solder a new one on there. There's some pretty big wires here going into these keys. Some of these pins have 2 wires on them, some just have 1, but that's a pretty big wire. I also got some other goodies online. I got a 5-pack of these connectors that will go on the key switch. In my experience, I have trouble getting these out and ended up breaking these connector bodies, so I figured I'd get a couple. Now I got a 25-pack of these special terminals. They have the locking tab that holds them into that connector. These ones here are for 12-gauge wire. I have some in the garage that are for 14 gauges, which is what I usually use, but there's some big wires on here. I figured they're 12. So anyways, I'm gonna see. I used to have a tool that you could put in here to get these pins out. I can't find it. But basically all it did was press down this little tab flat so you could pull it out. So if I get a little tiny screwdriver, I should be able to put that in there and at least try to pull out the one on the top that's really rusty and see what we can do. Right, so I pulled this thing out and I actually just cleaned it up with this brush here, and I'm not going to replace it. It actually looks like it's copper. It's really nice. But this is a special terminal that holds 2 wires, has like a double barrel in there, which I don't have any of those, so I don't want to take this apart. I'm just going to put it back in. And you know, you see how on these plugs here, like on the back side, there's a little groove. I can't find my tool, but this screwdriver fits in that groove perfectly. Depresses that little clip and you can pull the wire out the back of the plug with no issues. Yeah, so that's kind of cool. All right, let's take it apart and put it back together and see what happens. All right, I got the key switch in. They don't give you any directions. There's no instructions, but Normally you put these metal nuts on there. If I put that on, then this other plastic nut here doesn't fit that I assumed was for the waterproof. Yeah, that snaps right on there. Now if I take this key they give me, put that in there, I'm not a fan of that. It's really very hard to turn. In fact, it's not going in deep enough. It doesn't even want to turn. You kind of got to push it in. Huh. I don't know. Jury's out on that. I think that's pretty dumb, but all right, let me push this connector back onto the, oh, the stupid terminals on the back of the key switch are all half bent. Don't even line up to the key. Junk China switch. All right, let me do this off camera. All right, so I got the key switch back in, and let's see if it will start. Come on, baby. It hasn't started for a couple weeks. Probably need to squirt ether. You know what? I'm gonna get some carb cleaner and give it a squirt. I blew in the gas tank, it fired right up. Now, will the PTO work? The voltmeter's working. Yeah, baby, we're back in business. Score. Score. That's awesome. Well, it already broke. I used it for about 2 minutes and something broke. I got bolts on the volt gauge, but then I turn the PTO on, it dies. Piece of junk. I don't know what the heck's going on, but I don't know if you could hear me, but I ran it for about 2 minutes and the electric died. The bucket wouldn't lift up. So I backed it up the driveway to the garage with the bucket dragging on the ground, and I noticed that the voltmeter's on again. So if I turn the PTO on, instantly the voltmeter drops down to 0. If I turn the PTO off, you wait maybe 4 or 5 seconds and the voltmeter jumps back up again. This tractor has a circuit breaker in there that somehow like trips. I think it's tripping. So maybe the PTO has a short in it or some kind of problem. The electric PTO clutch, maybe it's popping the circuit breaker. So I'm actually gonna bring the voltmeter over to the circuit breaker, see if I can put it on there and see if it's popping. Well, that's the circuit breaker. It's definitely popping when I turn the PTO on. I just don't get it. It's like there's too much draw and it's popping it. And then you can see there's no voltage across it. And then a minute later, a couple seconds, kicks on and there's voltage again. It's so weird. Well, that's got to be the problem. There's got to be some kind of crazy load on this electric PTO that's causing it to trip that breaker. It's so weird. I don't really get why, but I guess we're gonna have to learn how to take a PTO apart or something. Maybe I can try to trace the wires down to the PTO and see what's happening with it. I kind of wonder if the PTO switch has a problem with it. Like, it's kind of exposed to the elements and water can get in it. Could the switch itself be the problem? Let's take a look at it. This is the one that I'm using. Water can easily get in there. This is for the rear PTO. This switch is broken. It won't even move. So that's suspect as a bad switch. I guess what I'd have to do is like take the wires out of this switch or something and hook them up to something on that PTO, you know, directly to the battery and see what happens. I'm not really sure. It seemed to be working okay when it was in use, and then bam, it just dies, you know. So I'm kind of wondering if there's a short somewhere or something that's causing it to go haywire, not actually a bad PTO, but frustrating.